President Biden speaking in a joint session of Congress tonight. He's expected to lay out an ambitious $1.8 trillion plan for what the president calls, quote, human infrastructure, which he says will be paid for by a tax hike on the wealthy. This plan includes $200 billion for universal pre-K in this country, 2 years of tuition-free community college, $225 billion for child care for low-income working families, and paid family and medical leave for up to 12 weeks. But he's likely to run into some opposition in Congress for sure. Let's bring in Republican Congressman Michael McCaul of Texas for the perspective from the other side of the aisle. Congressman, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me.
And I'll just ask you, we just sketched its outline. What do you think of the plan? You're going to support it or any part of it?
Well, we don't know much about it other than it's another $2 trillion. You know, I was here for the inauguration. The president talked about unity, working across the aisle in a bipartisan way. And the first thing we do is a COVID package. It was totally partisan. Infrastructure could be a very bipartisan issue. Republicans and Democrats both want that if done right. But to go alone and do it in a partisan manner, that's another $2 trillion. Now we're talking about $6 trillion being proposed in the first 100 days. That is larger than most GDPs of many nations. And what they didn't tell you about are the massive tax increases they're going to come with this bill, whether it's doubling the capital gains tax rate to individual rates to corporate, to pay for all this. Really at a time, Terry, in a pandemic economy, when we can least afford it. You know, we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to get the economy going. We don't want to hurt this economy coming out of this pandemic.
This human infrastructure plan. He's also proposing that more than $2 trillion infrastructure plan, which, among other things, would include investments in green energy, schools, elder care, job training programs. Now, Republicans have made a counteroffer at an estimated $568 billion, limited to more traditional infrastructure like roads, bridges, railways. So do you see a way that Democrats and Republicans can come together on this one?
I really think we can. We did it with the COVID packages last Congress. I think infrastructure is one area where we really have a lot of agreement. We do have a slimmer bill, if you will, that really talks about traditional infrastructure, roads, bridges, broadband, broadband out there in the rural counties where they need this. There is a lot of consensus. I would hope the president would capitalize that and not listen to just the far left in his party like AOC who's commending this. I know that the president, I've known him for a while, he is a centrist. And I would like to see him govern as a centrist as he promised and not just pandering to the far left in his party.
Well, Congressman, let's see if we can find some centrist common ground on the subject that's bedeviled this country for so long, immigration. Over in the Senate, Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat of Illinois, he's admitted the Senate's not going to pass a sweeping immigration reform bill. The president's likely to propose one. But it does seem there's some progress being made there on things like DACA, the so-called Dreamers, people who were brought here as children, to protected status for certain immigrants for a little while. So what is that issue, that burning issue, which the country really has been wrestling with for so long? Becomes so divisive. What does it look like to you?
When I was chairman of Homeland Security, I had a bill with Chairman Goodlatte to help resolve this issue, including the border. It is a very difficult issue, but it's one that the nation needs very desperately. But I would also argue, Terry, that we need to deal with the crisis at the southern border, the Remain in Mexico policy that the president rescinded, the asylum cooperations in Central America that were rescinded, according to the Border Patrol that I talked to, had a direct cause and effect on this migration surge. I think we need to look at private investment in Central America to get to the root cause of the migration phenomena. And then to your point, in the bill that I'd introduced, we legalized the DACA kids. I think that's an issue of broad bipartisan consensus. But to your point, it is a very, very difficult thing to resolve from a lawmaking standpoint.
So, Congressman, what are you going to be listening for from the president's speech tonight?
I want him to be the president. I heard at the inauguration, he was talking about unifying the country, bringing Republicans and Democrats together. You know, one thing I was in the Oval Office talking to President Biden about was supply chain coming out of China after COVID and how we can bring more manufacturing jobs to the United States and at the same time protect our national security. Those are the kind of ideas I want to hear about more from the president, and I think it would have a strong resonance throughout Congress and also the American people.
You know, Congressman, last question. I've got a theory. I actually don't think the American people want to be as divided as polls show we are. We don't enjoy hating on each other. So what do you think? Is the country destined in the near term or medium term to just be bitterly, viciously divided as we are? And what can you and the president and other people here in Washington do to try to heal that?
I think rhetoric matters. You have members on both sides of the aisle that pander to their base to get attention. They have no desire to get anything done up here and be constructive. They just want to get on, they want to get in the news cycle, make their points, and that's not constructive for the nation either. And I think to appeal to the common sense of Americans, most Americans I talk to, they don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat issue. They want what's best for America. And I'm a little disappointed this president has not gone down that route when he promised that. And every bill that's come out has been a highly partisan bill. I would hope tonight he could change that trajectory and start working with Republicans across the aisle.
All right. Congressman Michael McCaul of Texas, thanks very much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks, Diane.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.